Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This week we have an interesting conversation. The conversation is about data analysis and data scientists. Data analysts and data scientists. If you're always wondering my take on the two, stay tuned for the rest of the video. I had simple observation. Next to where we stay, we have a racing course. And at one point I was thinking about it to say, wow, I see quite powerful machines going inside there. But then I thought, reflecting to myself to say, if I jump into the AMG, does that make me Lewis Hamilton? What makes Lewis Hamilton? Is it the machine that he uses, or is it his application, his know-how, together with the machine that he's using? Is that Lewis Hamilton? Same is true with Michael Schumacher. What was making him the best, the world best at his time? Was it the Ferrari that he was driving, or was it himself in the Ferrari? Can Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton be themselves if they're driving a different machine, maybe a Renault? Quite interesting. And with that analogy, I started thinking about how the raceway next to where we stay operates. I mean, there are powerful machines that go out there. There's powerful engines in there, and they also run training for people like me to go experience how does it feel like to just go around into the track. But I think you and I can agree, none of that will make me a professional raceway driver. If I just go jump into powerful machine and I go inside the racetrack, it doesn't just automatically make me a racer. I have to apply my learnings constantly for me to become a professional race driver. So the same analogy that we're just making here with racing, I want us to take it to a data analyst and a data scientist and what makes the two of them. So in a data world, you will probably get a hardware administrator or a hardware person that looks at the hardware, which is whether the server is up or server is down. I don't think those are the roles of a data analyst and a data scientist, but it does happen that there are blurred lines. Then they would normally check if the server is up or down. I don't think that's their responsibility. That's the responsibility of the hardware people. And over there comes a person called a data administrator. Data administrator is somebody else who just takes data from different sources. At work, you will have the data administrator who is responsible for connecting all the data and putting it in the database, which could be from one SQL server or from an Excel source or from a flat file like CSV. He puts them together, or she puts them together into a central database. That's a data administrator. Of course, when there are blurred lines, you must still find a data analyst and a data scientist doing that job. But for as far as I understand, that is not their role. What makes the data analyst and the data scientist distinct is data analyst, as much as the data has been put there. Let's say, for instance, the data administrator has put two tables for simplicity. Two tables, one has got 10 records, one has got 7 records. Together, 17 records. The data administrator will say, we have successfully imported the two data sources, which they've done their job. Data analyst comes in and then start to do, as part of their daily routine, one of the stuff that they do is the data, besides data definition, is the data cleanup. Part of the data cleanup that they do is they can easily pick up from the 10 records and the 7 records that are in there. There might be duplications between the two. For simplicity, let's just say there are 3 records that show up on both sides. So he will say, I started with this data on 17 records, but I have made it one record source with now how many? 14 records. And 14 records becomes the new source, with what the data analyst sitting in between is able to transform the data from 2 data sources, 17 records, to just one data, whatever you want to call it, a table with only 14 records. So that's easier. If the business requirement is not complex, you agree with me that the business can start using 14 records. So the guys from HR can start to look at the transformation numbers with the 17 people, how many are female, how many are male, how many are disabled, all of that. The sales department can start to look at the 14 people and says, which one has got one product, can we cross-sell, can we make leads? The finance department can start to look at their salaries and say, who earns how much? Can you see, we can start to make financial data or decisions based on the 14 records because we already cleaned up the data. Now here's the second one. Data scientists. Where do they come in? Because clearly data scientists can do all of this. Now, the difference between, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've seen it, the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist is based on the algorithms that is being used. A data scientist can use complex statistical algorithm on data for him or for the business to derive a certain meaning. Let's say, for instance, we got a business requirement where we are now asking the data department to give us, maybe it's the sales department, says, we don't want to call all 14 people. Can you group the 14 people for us by some sort of similarity? Give us 3 groups for interest sake. Let's assume I'm part of the 14, and here we are averaging my skipping rope activity. So every morning, every day, I go for a skipping rope, skip, and then I do day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day whatever. I'll get an average of my skipping rope. Let's say my average, daily average is 10. Then you do it, and then your daily average, because you're fitter than me, it's on 15. And then somebody, big guy who's with lots of stamina, or big girl with a lot of stamina, they do 50, others 60, others 80. We take these averages, we put them together, and then maybe another one with 30. Let's put it down there. And we have to think about what algorithm can we use to actually calculate the distance between the two. The data scientists come in with a statistical tool. In this case, maybe he can use k-means to calculate the difference between the distance between the 2 or more averages, so that he can see if they can actually fall under one cluster. I think k-means it takes my average and it calculates the distance between your average, which is 15, compared to mine. I mean, 15 minus 10, the 5 there, and then 15 minus 80, and then, there's the difference between the two. It takes that difference between the two and it calculates the one with the lowest difference between where there's the shortest distance gets grouped together as one cluster or one group. The one who is in between or far enough from both the highest, the 80 and the 10, that one will probably be in their own cluster, or we call them outliers because they don't fit in any group. The distance between the two groups are so far apart, it becomes an outlier. I think that's to simplify k-means. But that will be a statistical tool that is used by a data scientist to actually derive more meaning from the data itself. Now, that will also now be sent over to the sales department. Now, the sales department can connect normal sales stuff using data from the data analyst, and then they can get, for the advanced sales tactics, they can now derive more data using the data scientist data. There are cases where if you don't have a data shop, for lack of a better word, if you don't have a data shop in your organization, you might find out that a data scientist have to do what a data administrator does, what a data analyst does. And then I think I've read somewhere to say about 70% or more than that of the time spent by data scientists is on roles that are not related to data scientists at all. Because to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, for you to get the best value from your data scientist guys is for you to hire people that clean up the data before. If the data is cleaned up the way that they can use it, if the data is cleaned up and the data is well prepared for statistical modeling, you will get the most out of a data scientist. So a data scientist will just get in there, and then all you have to do is just to punch in whether it's k-means or regression or whatever you want to do, so that the business can get maybe a Venn diagram, a diagram like this that shows mutually exclusive and mutually inclusive type of things. Data scientists can be able to do that. So with the time that they spend, they might spend about 10% or 5% of their time writing the advanced code if you clean up the data. If you don't clean up your data, from my experience, it's better to get a data analyst to just clean up your data, understand what your data looks like. Once you understood what your data looks like and you have derived meaning, you have aggregated the data, you have simplified the data, is now rational in a way, it's been simplified, one is on separate tables, only then can you put a post for a data scientist to come help you. Might take him on a permanent basis, or you might just take them on the project contract temporary basis. It's all up to you. But the difference between a data scientist and a data analyst is that the data scientist is solely on data, or uses the tools that does advanced analytics. So, and should belong in the advanced analytics team, while the data analyst, just all they do is very, very important, the data cleanup, finding out the relationship between the data and all of that, and should very, very key part of sitting into the data shop. That's why you'll see most departments or most teams will rely heavily on the data analyst. I had somewhere else to say most of the guys, they do data analyst, but they want to now start applying for jobs for data scientists, and they get caught on, and it becomes a horrible thing because you are accused of lying, and it becomes that Blair thing to say, but I sit next to data scientists, we do the same thing. The only problem is, if you've seen them clean up the data, it doesn't mean that they're doing what you're doing as a data scientist. They are cleaning up the data so that they can use that half a day in a month for them to do that advanced algorithm. But if you're efficient data scientist, you can do preparation of the data, do everything else for them, so that when they are there, they run it quickly. I've seen that in the organization that I work in. For me as a financial analyst, I have had hands-on experience of being looking after their servers themselves, of being importing the data from data sources, and I spend most of my time on data analysis. Financial analysis does, from where I'm sitting, it does not need advanced analytics. I know about those things. I've done most of my education on big data and stuff, but I've never actually went in and solved an algorithm that needs data scientist tools. For me, as far as I'm concerned, I have 0 hours experience in being a data scientist, but I have many, many years experience of being a data analyst. So in a nutshell, that's how I've seen it in my organization. That's the experience that I've seen it. I hope this video is useful to you. If you like it, click the like button. If you want more like this, I will put more topics in the community tab for you to maybe suggest. But thanks a lot for coming through. Thanks a lot for subscribing. Thanks a lot for liking this video. More is coming. Cheers, guys.